why party at the end of the week, or we can party on a Sunday.
What's up, you guys? Welcome back to another episode of Party on a Podcast. I have a multifaceted dude from Halifax with me today. This guy is a producer. He's a songwriter. He's an artist. He's a musician. And I'm sure a lot more that we'll get into during this interview. But ladies and gentlemen, welcome Nathaniel Cole.
What's good, man?
This is it, man. I'm glad to have you on the show. I made a list. And I made sure local artists that I wanted to have on were going to get on sooner than later. And you were definitely on the top of that list. So
I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, man. I mean, and we've been talking, especially lately, with trying to get shows done and organizing that stuff, which we'll get into in the interview for sure. But
yeah, most
it's
definitely.
Just been very humble, and you're very approachable in the sense of talking about this stuff honestly and openly.
Yeah, man.
And it makes the conversation a lot more smoother. So I'm sure this interview will go the same way.
Most definitely, dude.
Yeah, man. So without further ado, the origin story of Nathaniel Cole. Why Nathaniel Cole? Why not an artist name? And where did the music side all start?
It's a good question, and I actually still debate that because I like the idea of having some anonymity with an artist name,
right? But
I also like embracing, just your true name, and I think we kind of discussed the idea before, like, if you're kind of walking a professional line, and depending on what your art says, you may not want to share some of your vulnerabilities with your professional side of your life.
Right.
So, but I don't know. I just felt it was more authentic for me to just be like, I'm just Nathaniel Cole. And then any nickname off of that just didn't seem genuine for me, whether it be a variation of my name or what have you.
Right.
But it was like 3 years ago that I actually started releasing music seriously.
Okay.
And then that was when I had the debate on whether or not I wanted to, because Nat King Cole, there's my name is Nathaniel Cole. Like I can't do any variation of that. That's not going to sound like that. So it would have to be something completely different, which just wouldn't work. Right. But I had played music for a long time, and I don't know, I never really, unfortunately, although I was encouraged to do it, like I didn't have a lot of musical people in my family, but I was encouraged to do it. I never took it seriously in the sense that I thought I could pursue it in any capacity.
Right.
And then I saw a few people, like yourself and, local artists that I was just like, okay, they've been doing it for 5 years, and, releasing music. I'm at the time, 23, 24, 25, whatever it was. And, people have been releasing music since they were 16. And I'm like, why have I not? Or even Apollo 13. Him and I went to high school together, and he was releasing music in high school into, now. And I never really thought it was an option, even though I was making garage band beats.
Right.
I don't know. I never really pursued it. But yeah, it wasn't, it was like about 2018. I was like, okay, let me just start releasing some music.
Why not, man? I mean, there's nothing to lose with releasing music because you never know who's going to hear it. You never know who it's going to affect.
Yeah. No. And I obviously, drawing from multiple different influences, I'm making the music that I want to listen to. And I want to if I'm making something, I want to be able to put it on in the car and be like, okay, let's jam to this.
Yeah.
And I have no shame in that. I'm like, if you're not making the music that you enjoy, then how do you expect other people to enjoy it? Right. I mean, obviously, true. If you listen, you're listening to a mix 10,000 times, and, I come to hate songs sometimes, but ultimately I want to try to make the music that I vibe to. And I was like, okay, let's put some music out there.
Well, the thing, and it goes to what you said. If the music you're making isn't stuff you're going to want to listen to, what is the purpose of you creating it? There's got to be a bigger purpose than that. Because I find I don't like making music. I can't gravitate to stuff that I just don't like listening to.
No,
it just doesn't sit well.
No, and it's hard because, you know, you might, as an artist, unfortunately, you have to sell yourself sometimes. That's part of
To an extent, yeah,
part of the package deal. Like you know, you're creating a product that's part of yourself, and you're like, okay, well, you know, if you're gonna ask people to listen to it, you want to be stoked about it as well. And you know, especially when you work on something so long, sometimes your ears get numb to it. You're like, I don't even know, I don't know if this is good anymore. So like, I can't really go out there and be like, hey, I'm like, pre-save this, listen to this, because I'm not even that's.
You got to throw it into the world, right? You got to throw it into the universe.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I'm working on a project right now that, you know, you're a part of,
right?
Part of a collaborative project that like, it was an exchange of art for art, shooting a photo for a verse, and I don't know. It's been a 2-year process, and like I don't know. It's sitting there in the vault, and I'm just like I just don't know if I'm happy with it. Like, but it's like it's capturing a moment in time, which is cool.
Yeah, but
it's not, I don't know. Yeah. It's like I said, my ears are numb to it now. I don't know if I can be excited about releasing it yet.
Yeah.
It might come to a point where that changes, but
the thing is, like, I'm sitting on some music too that I've had for probably 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
Some of it anyways. And I've just hesitated on releasing it because it was like a very specific time in my life that I felt reflected it very well, but grew out of it very quickly. It was just like relationships and stuff. It was just like in the moment, it sounded good and it worked.
Yeah.
But it was like one was like probably closer to 4 or 5 years ago that I've been sitting on, and it worked at the time. And I think it could still sound good. It's just, I don't have the original stems. I can't go back to it.
Yeah.
And every time I try to re-record it, it doesn't hit the same way because the emotion's not there because I'm not in that place anymore.
Yeah.
But the song could still sound dope. And I think it still sounds good, but it's just at the point where it's like, is it worth releasing? And I'm at that point now with some of these songs that I've had for like now 2 or 3 years. That is like, I could release it and just get it out in the universe and just let it do its thing. If it works, it does. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
Yeah.
And just roll with it that way, because otherwise I'm going to sit on it and wait, and it's going to bug me on the inside. So right now I'm working on finishing all those tracks so I can just start releasing, whether it's something that I truly want to pursue in that direction or not. It's just, I want to get it out. So it's out there and off my chest, and at least wash my hands of it. So I can say, this was a point in my life, but at the same time, if it works, I'll run with it. If it doesn't, I'm not hurt by it. So.
Yeah. And I think that's my opinion too. I think that's what I'll end up doing, is it's ultimately going to be released. And like, I think the concept is too special to me in the sense that like, you know, all these people came together, and like, I don't know, it's like, it's a community-based project in the sense that like, you know, and it's also like, I like the idea of the exchange. It's like, you know, okay, like I'm doing this, I'm giving you this piece of art for you give me this piece of art. And like, you know, now I don't know, I want to present that in a way that's like, you know, I feel like it's a nice idea, and I feel like it could be presented elegantly.
Well, it's better than like locals trying to pay each other to have each other on verses.
Yeah, I hate that. Yeah, I mean, I obviously respect people's value, but I'm like, I want to give you something that's valuable in return. And I'm able to shoot photos, and that's the skill that I have, that I'm grateful that I have. And like, you know, I'm willing, like, you know, I want to. I
didn't even say that in the intro. I didn't even say photographer. So there you go. There's another one for the.
Yeah. So, and that's honestly, it's a nice thing, because I mean, it's photos, they capture a moment so well, but also it's a nice thing it's a nice gift in a lot of ways, right? Like it has a lot of value in a lot of ways, because, you know, as one is an artist, it serves as content, but two, it captures that moment in time. And it's like, you know, you are that person on that day. And like, I had somebody come to me who I'm shooting with on Sunday, well, I guess tomorrow. You know, I had taken photos of them probably like before the first lockdown or something like that. And like, honestly, I think they're great photos, and there's no disagreement. They're great photos, but they want new photos. And they're like, I'm not the same person anymore. They're straight. And it's literally, it's within the same year, but it's within
Yeah.
6 months, 6 months.
Yeah.
And essentially they're like, I want something that represents me more now. And it's like, wow, that's I'm grateful for the opportunity, because it's like, you're giving me the opportunity to work and like practice my craft and make money doing it. And I'm also, I have a good relationship with this person as well. So like I enjoy their time.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's an amazing benefit for me, because I'm like, I get to capture this moment of you right now. I'm making money, I'm practicing my craft, and I'm giving you this amazing gift that's like going to be used in promotion, but it's also good. Like, it also captures that moment. I can look back on that. They can look back on that.
Yeah.
As we did with the previous photos. And he's like, I like those photos a lot. They're awesome photos. I'm just like, I look different. I feel different. And like, that's not me anymore. And I'm like, that's fascinating.
Yeah. And it's crazy how a short span of time can change that perspective of yourself.
Yeah. And same thing with music, right? It's like,
oh, of course. Yeah.
It's like, it's
what we were just talking about. Like,
yeah. It ties in. It ties in. So it's, yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, man. With that being said, inspirations as far as music goes, we can probably get into the photography side, but we are more focused on the music side of this interview. But
genre specific or artist specific?
Anything,
or
really.
everything.
Yeah. Then honestly, so I like to do this like then versus now, like when you started making, what inspired you to start making music,
Interesting.
and that versus now when you're making music, what inspires you now?
Honestly, when I started making music, it was like AC/DC and like, rock and stuff like that. That's what really inspired me when I started. And then I don't know, I found R&B. My father was always into like funk and R&B. And I don't know, I had like a bit of a punk phase when I was a kid. So like, I was like experimenting with like punk rock and, classic rock and that sort of thing. But then I phased into, and, discovering R&B and funk and jazz and that whole thing. Excuse me. Honestly, one of my biggest artists, I don't know if you're familiar with Sade.
Yeah.
Fucking love Sade. But then there's also another artist called Nick Waterhouse out of California.
No.
He's like, he's very reminiscent of like 50s music, but he's got like a very California vibe, but it's like California, not surf rock, but it's like, it's R&B blues vibe with like rock and fusion. And so it's like, I don't know. And yeah, I think a lot of hip hop as well too. Like I do love a lot of hip hop. So I feel like there's a lot of fusion that's happening in the music between like rock, R&B and hip hop. And that's, and even electronic. Like I made an electronic track the other day, like it's kind of an EDM track. And I'm like, okay, like I like this stuff too. Like I can't choose.
Well, you gravitate to what feels good. So I mean,
yeah,
whatever genre that is, because even like myself, I've dabbled in the whole electronic side, not as far as like production or anything, but like writing to it, and it's definitely a different style of writing. So
yeah,
but yeah, I mean it's whatever feels good. It comes back to that feeling of whatever feels good, especially at that time, because I mean, every song is different.
The process of making the music has actually changed quite a bit, in the sense that I used to make everything and write everything on an acoustic guitar pretty much. And that was like, everything was built on an acoustic guitar, and then it was put into a DAW of some sort. And I was like, okay, I can build from this acoustic guitar. And I still mess with that, but like, I don't know, now I'm kind of, building on different production skills and elements, and, trying to learn piano, and I've always I've played drums my life. So, I've got a little bit of background in drums and whatnot, but being able to mess around on different instruments and bring those elements in, instead of just trying to like, because it always ended up being like a little singer-songwriter kind of vibe. And I was just like, I mean, not that you can't take,
of course,
guitar and make it, amazing, but like taking a different approach was, I think, what opened my style up a little bit.
Necessary to your creativity.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Let's see. So your sound, I mean, you basically touched on it a little bit. If you were to define your sound, like what would you call it, and what do you think makes you stand out due to that sound?
And it's honestly, I struggle with it. I think it's R&B. but I don't know what I don't know what to call it. I ask a lot of people because I'm like, what is it, right? And like
Right.
there is a lot of vibe that like goes left and right from hip hop to electronic to rock, but yeah, I think the fact that it is so different is probably what makes it
Unique.
yeah, because I don't know, there's like I'm struggling to find local artists at least that are making similar tunes that like because I'm like okay I want to collaborate with these artists because I'm collaborating with hip hop artists, I'm collaborating with R&B artists, but I feel like I'm not on either end of that spectrum, you know what I mean? I feel like I'm
Yeah.
somewhere in between.
Which definitely plays as an advantage for sure.
I'd like to think so, potentially, or
I think so because then it
maybe in the
allows you
long
to. Yeah,
in
go
the
ahead.
long in the long run potentially because it sets me aside and sets me apart, but yeah, I'm trying to find that I don't have that niche where I'm not like you can't call can be like you can't like be like he's a hip hop artist, he's an R&B artist. I think they're just two
It's not
it's two different
necessarily a
things.
bad thing though.
No,
It means you're more versatile than a lot of artists because a lot of artists are just hip hop artists or
I
just
like
pop artists.
and as an artist I like that idea, but like as far as like getting if you think about like playlisting or putting someone on a stage or putting on someone on a showcase, it's like people do like to categorize things, right? And
Yeah,
as humans we like to categorize things, so it's
true.
like
But I
trying
mean,
to
there is ways of figuring out what sound that song sounds like. Because I
true.
mean, and a general feel for an album is what you would like genre specific that album, I think. I
Yeah,
mean,
and that's typically what I tend to do, like whether it be a single or whether it be a project. It's like okay, well, like what is the sound of this project, and it's like it's a
yeah.
project specific basis, and like um I'm willing to swing left and right on it a little bit
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah,
and
of
and
course.
produce different things, but I think overall like rhythm and blues.
I see. It's funny you say that because like over the years, I feel like I've gravitated a lot more to R&B just
Yeah,
because it encaptures.
encapsulates
That's the
the
word.
whole. Yeah,
Yeah,
it takes on an umbrella that is there's a lot of subgenres underneath it, right? Like I mean,
and you can
lo-
fit like pop and
yeah,
hip hop under those
like
because they're influences.
lo-fi hip hop is kind of R&B. It's
Yeah,
got R&B elements in it, so
yeah,
but it's called
and
lo-fi,
it's
right?
all about how you would approach it and attack it as an artist too. Because I mean,
Exactly. Yeah, you could sing on it like an R&B, you could
yeah,
sing it, or you could flow on it like a
yeah,
rapper, right?
yeah,
Like
exactly. It's definitely multi-dimensional.
yeah,
So, right. Get into a
pull
little
a
bit
Drake.
more. What's that?
So you can pull a
Oh,
Drake
well,
and just do
exactly. I mean, but
both.
he was like the main person that kind of introduced that as being able, like, commercially being
I've,
able to attack both sides, and
I
it
yeah
sounded good.
yeah presenting it in a way that it was like not and a lot of people may argue it, but I'm like I don't think it was presented like that before.
No, I
Like
don't think because he came out as a rapper,
yeah
and for him to come out with some of those songs and him be that R&B artist side of things, that who was to say that was going to happen? And
yeah
it changed the game. It really did. And it
yeah
allowed a lot of other people and a lot more artists that were iffy about it to feel more comfortable about approaching it that way, because just because you
absolutely.
rap doesn't mean you can't sing.
No, no, and I definitely like explore. I don't rap that often, but I feel like the ability to explore it is there. Maybe not because of Drake, but just like
Yeah.
it's a more open genre. You don't have to
Yeah,
be
it definitely is.
you don't have to be confined.
This is very true. All right. We'll touch on a little bit more personal stuff, but just to bring the people into who you are more than just an artist. When it comes to home life, what's your daily routine like?
I work I work a 9 to 5 job pretty much. Yeah, I do architectural drafting, and so it's fucking 6:30 a.m. every day. I'm up, and 7:30 I'm in the office, and then if when if I'm not doing personal things like laundry and making dinner. I'm in the studio creating stuff, whether it be making photos or making music. And when shows were happening, I would love to go out and photograph those as well, but hopefully that'll start happening again soon.
Which basically touches on what we were talking about before, a few days ago, actually, before when we were talking about this. How do you feel about the live industry right now, where the change has been so drastic, especially from going to having shows basically every weekend or even during the week to not having any shows and relying on live streams, whether you ever did that or not, and versus now, so it's three different verses, but versus now when we're transitioning back into live shows, how difficult things have really been?
Honestly, I think it's really unfortunate for artists that are legit touring acts that
Yeah.
that have completely been like their revenue stream has been cut. Because myself, that's not how I make my money right now. And you know, it would be nice to make money playing shows. But that's a grind that, you know, it's a grind in general,
Yeah.
but it's one that, you know, it takes a lot of time to achieve. But there's a few local acts, actually, one out of Chester. I don't know if you remember with Old Man Ludica.
No.
Very like folk singer songwriter, like, you know, banjo player, mandolin, I believe. Started lobster fishing because like legit like that, like he's a touring act. He would tour all over the world, and like and now, you know, he's lobster fishing, which that's humble. It's a humble way to do it, but like I think there was a CBC article about it. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's nice that things are starting to open up now, and
Right.
I think it's good that artists are able to get the opportunity to get on stage, but obviously it makes things very difficult. You know, if we're talking about just sharing art, I think it's great that it can happen. But yeah, a lot of people are trying to get paid for their art and get paid appropriately, and like, you know, venues are suffering, artists are suffering.
Well, they all fall under that umbrella of the live industry. It's just like,
yeah,
because some are bars exclusively, and that's fine, but some of those are very much performance venues that rely on those kind of, like, I guess now what the Derby is like.
yeah,
That's a performance strict venue. Like even the Seahorse is like that. Sniggly Wiggly's is that way too. There's a lot of places in Halifax alone that rely on those live acts to bring in customers, bring in business. And
and I don't know if it's so much ticket sales that they make money on. It's beer and it's booze, and
it's
you
bar
know,
sales.
yeah, exactly. It's like, you know, like they're not making money off $15, $20 tickets. They're slinging beers, right? So
And they know as long as that event's going on, they're making money because those people are going to continue to do that, because that's part of the whole social scene has become that. So
yeah, no, I'm happy to see it. And like, but it's interesting because looking at like you say, like the frequency of shows now, and like I was just looking at events the other day, and it was just like, it's very like a lot is happening, but sometimes, but not nearly as much as like happening as we might expect.
yeah. But at the same time, we still have to transition back into a normal, quote unquote, normal lifestyle.
Yeah,
Especially as artists, as performers, and being in that industry. It's a tough concept to fathom when you've been so active in the live aspect of the industry.
yeah,
I mean, we've not even if you're making money, like even if you're just doing it for fun and doing it as a way of keeping mentally sane. Because
true.
I mean, getting out and seeing people, whether you're on stage or
Yeah,
in front of the stage watching, it's a concept that like we took for granted.
that's
and
true.
now we don't have, we're transitioning back into it, but like
It feels great
so
though,
important.
honestly, like being seeing other people out and, you know, running into people, enjoying music, like I don't know, there's something about sharing that experience with multiple people. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, like listening, sure, if you had a solo show played for you, that could be interesting. But like when everybody's kind of like under this like mass hypnosis of like a show, it's like there's something captivating about that, you know?
Yeah. Oh, 100%. I mean, and it's like you said, it's nice that we're getting back into it. Like it's almost necessary that we're getting back into it, just for the fans, for listeners, for the artists.
Something that's interesting though that I've observed, and like I, you know, it is unfortunate, but it's also I think kind of humbling for a lot of people, is regardless of where you were before, performance wise, before the pandemic,
Right.
everyone's kind of at a similar baseline right now.
Yeah.
I mean, your fan
Minus
base,
like the Justin Biebers that are going on like a massive world tour.
Your fan base is your fan base.
Yes.
But I'm talking about like, you know, a lot of us haven't had the chance to perform, regardless of whether you perform 2 times a week or 2 times a year. Most people haven't really had the chance to perform in front of like a large audience in a long time, right?
Yeah.
So like you if you have 10,000 followers or 10 followers, you know, you still probably haven't performed to more than 10 people
in the last year.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's an interesting concept. Like
that is,
you know, yeah, like it's it just kind of humbles everybody in the sense of like, yeah, you're still gonna.
That's dope. Actually, I didn't think.
I'm sure everyone's still, you know, practiced, and you know, if you really made the best of your time during the lockdowns, you'd stay tight on your chops and you'd be ready for it to come out of lockdown fresh, sort of thing. But like no matter what, you still everybody.
Basically put on the level playing field.
It's interesting. I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
And it's funny because we were talking about this beforehand, before the show, before we hit record, basically, about IV, who is going to be on a future episode.
Yeah.
But like, and I don't want to talk too much about it now because I want to talk about it with him. But like their first show back, that status show will never be what my first show back is, which is fine. But at like,
yeah,
we all have that first show that we need to get back into the swing of things. It's going to be the kickstart for everybody.
Yeah.
It just depends on how you approach it, I think, more than anything.
If it's at Gus's or at the Calgary Stampede.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah. So, I mean, and I'm okay with however the first show goes, but I need to be able to step back into that light and be like, okay, let's get this thing going again, because I've been writing. I've been not necessarily rehearsing. So, I mean, the whole rehearsing side of things is almost foreign right now, because what are you rehearsing for when in a pandemic?
Well, and I'm kind of anxious too, because like I want like the whole idea of opportunity meeting preparation. It's like, you know, if you're prepared,
now
you can take an opportunity. Before there was no opportunities. So now I'm feeling a little bit of pressure to be like, you should be ready to take an opportunity if one comes, right? Like
now,
like I'm saying, I need to start working on some shit. And like, you know, I have a bunch of tunes that like, I know I could probably perform decent, but like I should work on and like get them somewhat tight where I'm like, if someone came tomorrow and was like, hey, do you want to showcase just like a 20-minute set? I could do that. Like,
I think Nova Scotia Music Week is accepting applications. I'm just like,
I already did it, which I'm keeping my fingers crossed.
But I mean, and that's good. It's just like, I don't know if I will, only because whether I have the material or not, I need to make sure that I'm mentally ready to be able to put on a show that I haven't put on in the past few years, because I've done Music Week 2 or 3 times, and it's like, that's cool, but I need to be able to make sure I'm just not doing another repeat performance. I don't want to hit that same level. I want to be able to surpass that level, and shock and awe. That value has to be there for me this time around, and I don't want to half-ass it, especially with the rebranding. I don't want to come out looking like a punk, you know.
No, absolutely. And then that's the thing. It's like you've got to somewhat be ready to take a swing at it if it comes, because things come fast sometimes, and you know, you've got to be ready to take action on it. So I'm like, okay, like now is probably the time to, you know, start working on some things and getting things a little tight and organizing things. Because you know, I'd like to organize my own thing, and as you know, we're trying to do, but
Definitely.
there may be opportunities that arise, or maybe showcases that come up that I'm like, okay, let's get something in the canon for it.
And what I've always wanted to do, not that this show's about me, but I've always wanted to put on a show that's just like a fully encapsulating, back to that word, encapsulating show for the listener, for the audience, for the fans, that is just like, I've been waiting for this show.
Yeah.
Like that's the value that I want. And I think nowadays with how things are, we can come out of this preparing those kind of shows, and the expectation isn't there anymore because, like you said, we're all in the same playing field.
Yeah.
So to expect an all-star lineup or an all-star show isn't exactly there, because
you may not have high expectations.
The pressure, at least.
Yeah. In theory is maybe less, but people are hungry for shows. So it's like, people know there's potentially some rust that needs to be shaken off, but it's like also like, we just want to see live music.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, but you still want to overachieve and over deliver. It's like, okay, like let's not.
I want to be able to plan these performances properly. And I feel like being an artist in that sense, and an independent artist in that sense, is important to put that thought instead of just creating a set. Because unless I think nowadays we need it more than anything, because the engagement is great when you have like a call and response kind of track, which I do, but there's got to be something more. I just feel like either visually or just that performance side of things just has to be that much more to really make a show a show. I don't know. It's just, I think maybe it's me growing up and me seeing how my creativity and my artistry has changed. But
and the same thing, it's like, you want to put on a show that you want to watch, and like, you want to be entertained. And like, for me, like, honestly, like acoustic guitar is good. And I'll watch someone or listen to someone play acoustic guitar. And if they can do it very well, then it can be entertaining.
Yes.
I know I'm not entertaining enough alone on an acoustic guitar.
Right.
I need something more. Like, it's like, to somebody who like is really fucking into like singer songwriter soulful acoustic guitar shit, they might be captivated by that performance. But for me, I don't get stoked on that performance. I'm not like, oh, this is like, I want to hear like a dope beat with like some bass, some drums. I want to see somebody do something interesting. I want to see somebody do something interesting. Like have some cool visuals. Like I want to, like there's got to be some dynamics to it. Something maybe more. And again, there's no hate on anyone who plays just acoustic guitar.
No, but because by all means, it takes a lot to be on a stage and put on a good show with an acoustic guitar.
It does. It really does. It really does. And like I said, I know that like for me, at least, I like to think I'm good enough to do that, but I just know that like I'm gonna get bored after a few songs. So
and that's you, and that's good to know as an artist for you, that you would be.
Yeah, I can only do 3 songs acoustically before I'm going to get bored. Then I'm going to level up, that, or a couple, maybe 4 or 5. If I have a long set, I'll maybe do a few acoustic songs and exactly. And then that's there's room for that, but I don't want that to be my whole set. You know what I mean?
Just to change the pace a little bit and before you bring it back up. Kind of deal.
Yeah. So I think, just
you have the idea.
Understanding what you want as an artist, but also what somebody might want as a viewer.
It's very important. It's more important than I think people realize, than just the creation of music. Because I mean, you can change any song into an acoustic track if you break it down.
Live performing is a whole different art than, I think, creating a song is one thing. Creating a live performance of that song is a different thing.
Yeah, because it's got to be something like, it's got to either meet expectations or exceed expectations.
Agreed.
Yeah, you can't just perform it how it's recorded, or else you're never gonna gain that audience that you want. Or
there's accuracy in that, but there's also like, that accuracy isn't like captivating sometimes. It's like it's just like,
you want to see the flaws in some.
It's competent, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
It's like just competent, but it's like you want to deliver more than what you would hear on a recording.
Right. Exactly. You want that. Just a little dash of something more, even if it is just a little bit more.
Yeah.
But
I'm looking forward to getting out there. It's going to be a lot of fun.
You're not kidding. Yeah. Favorite pastime? Other than when you do have free time, because I know I don't have that much free time anymore either. But when you do have free time, what do you like doing other than making music?
It's not creating art.
Well, if that's all you do, then that's
I do
but...
love creating art, but like, getting out by the lake, just soaking in some sun, relaxing, camping. That's the vibe, man. Going out, listening to good music, consuming good art.
Yeah.
Consuming good, like honestly, curating an aesthetic experience. Like everything in life is too short not to curate a beautiful experience. I want to eat good food. I want to drink good
beverages,
whether it be soft or alcoholic.
Yeah.
I want to have good company. I want to listen to good music. I want to take in good art,
That's
good film.
Appropriate, man. It's good.
Yeah, and it's like, and there's so much to enjoy in life, and I'm grateful. I'm feeling very grateful lately that I'm just like, we need to.
I think this pandemic has also helped in that sense.
Yeah.
Give it a different level of appreciation for stuff. For especially for company, because Lord knows we've been lacking in company.
Yeah, having good company, man. Like I said, going out in a social event or going out to the lake with more than 2 people and not having to fear being charged for it. Yeah, that's really nice. That's like going with 4 or 5, 10 people. It's like, oh wow, I can go to the lake with 10 people and not get that shit broken up, right? Like,
that's great, man.
Yeah, no, it's good. So. Yeah,
nothing wrong with that. I mean, and that's something that we're definitely getting more into now with restrictions lessening up, everybody getting vaccinated, and all that stuff. So
thank goodness.
Yeah, it's relief doesn't even begin to describe it.
I agree.
As we come into the last section of this interview, we just touch on a few more, just like, I guess, opinions or choices, if that makes sense. You'll see as we get into it. I know you probably, if you have listened to the podcast before, then but favorite Sunday jams, top 3.
That's a good question.
Or top 3 right now.
Okay. I Can Only Whisper by Charlotte Day Wilson, which it was just released. I've been vibing to that so hard. Indecisive by Snow Allegra. Again, nice. 2 tracks that just came out yesterday.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure, at least. And then like Sweetest Taboo by Sade. All female artists, which I love.
That's dope.
Yeah.
I mean,
gotta give the love to the female artists.
Yeah, man, you're not kidding.
Yeah.
With that being said, top 5 artists right now, no matter the genre.
Okay, Burna Boy.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with Burna Boy?
Yeah.
Fucking so good, man.
He won a Grammy this year, didn't he?
I believe so. Yeah, because there was a dope ass Grammy performance.
Yeah.
Let me see here.
That's 1.
That's serious.
You're not ranking, by the way. Don't worry about ranking them. Just
baseline, local artist, hip hop artist.
Yep.
I'm not gonna say you because you're on the podcast. But Bad Not Good.
Okay. Yeah.
You familiar with Bad Not Good?
Yeah.
They're fucking fire. I'm just going through my shit right now because I'm like, okay, these guys. That was 3, right? Bad Not Good.
Yeah.
Okay. That's right now. You said top 5 artists in general, or just in? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Sade and Nick Waterhouse are my last 2. Those are my last 2. I gotta. Yeah. I don't know what it is about them, man. Like,
Sade seems to be the one you keep going back to. So I mean, I was expecting that one to show up.
I don't know. There's something about her. I don't know. Her energy, like the way she delivers, the way she like writes, and like her band. I don't know how. Honestly, I wish there was more interviews with her because like I don't know what her writing process was, because like the music and like she has a sound that is just so like soulful and beautiful, and it just like takes you to a place. And I don't know. I feel like it's interesting because Snow Allegra, I feel like, is very reminiscent of Sade. And they actually kind of look similar. They've got like a similar hairstyle and whatnot. But
Right.
my father always used to listen to Sade, and like I don't know, I grew up listening to her, and she's just like, you know, I love putting her on. Like I have all her vinyl, and I just love listening to her on vinyl. And I don't know, just very
That's
soothing,
fair, man.
very soothing.
We all have that one. You know.
Yeah, I love listening to hard hip hop, like so many like heavy genres of music, but like for some reason I always come back to this very like soothing, like smooth, soulful R&B.
Fair enough. With that being said,
Who's your top 5 artists?
Shit, see, I wasn't prepared for that. If we're gonna go into that, I get, you know,
because like genre wise, if we wanted to go genre specific, it's a whole different conversation. Of course,
this is
like,
very true. Yeah.
Like if we want to talk hip hop artists, I could give you a whole different list than I just gave you. But who, like, you know, I guess for you, who's your I guess across the board, do you have a or even top 3?
Michael Jackson.
Okay, that's
always
dope. I love
always
Michael
it's
too.
always been the next question for you is related to that in sense for me.
Interesting.
But,
because I you know, that's interesting, because like I wouldn't have said Michael, maybe because of controversies, but I think as an artist across the board, he was probably one of the greatest.
Regardless of what happened, he was his whole life he was raised in a fucked up situation.
Yeah, and you can't blame somebody for the condition, you know. Like,
I think
you know,
so.
there's a lot of, you know, nature versus nurture, and you know, if you lack proper nurture,
yeah,
you may have bad nature or questionable nature.
Yeah,
and that may be perceived as ill-intended, but it's not.
Exactly,
it's
and
potentially
that's
not
what you got to
ill-intended.
keep in mind.
Yeah.
So if we're gonna go with artists, especially right now, I guess. I was just thinking of them too. What is it? Royce the 5'9".
Okay.
He's stepped up his game quite a bit over the last.
Yeah, serious. Talk about someone who doesn't give up.
Yeah.
Talk about someone who just is relentless. Dude, and prolific.
But he's been the shining star out of all of Slaughterhouse for sure.
I agree.
And not to put any shade on Crooked or Joel Ortiz. It's Crooked, right? Crooked's in Slaughterhouse, isn't he? Crooked Eye?
You know better than me.
Okay. Anyways, those, like, each one of them has their own niche part, and like their lyricism in general is unmatched with anybody around. Like,
but he's been releasing music.
Griselda's another dope one that has made the come up especially over this past couple of years. That's been something to take into consideration.
But Royce, like, I don't know, like I you know, because there's oftentimes as artists we get discouraged with ourselves, and
100%, yeah.
And I look at people like Royce, and I mean, like, he's been releasing music since I was a kid, and I'm sure before that, like,
well, he was on Classified's. He was on a track with Classified back in the day. I want to say back in the day, but
I was gonna say, what's his years active, like, on his Wikipedia? I want to check that.
It's a good question. It's a very good question.
I want to find this out because it's
might as well do it on the podcast, because
it's actually an interesting point of conversation. Because again, like, when I look at something I always do, I look at people. I try, not that I like to compare myself, because, like they say, comparison's the thief of joy, but 1995 to present, so like almost my whole life. Was 95 years active, so, like, you know, my whole lifetime pretty much. He's been making music, and I'm just like, oh, okay, like, or like I was talking to someone the other day, a local in the scene, regarding show planning and, you know, just the whole the whole deal, and he's like, man, I've been playing music in the scene for 15 years, and I would play Tuesday night spots at, like, you know, the smallest venues and not get this or that or the other thing. And he's like, now I'm just selling shows out on Friday nights and Saturday nights. And I'm like, okay, this thing is not an overnight fucking thing. But then there's people who do get that overnight, and you're like, fuck, like what's going on with that,
Fuck
right?
Fuck you. But at the same time, like there are just people that like the Justin Biebers of the world that just
they got the juice. They got the juice.
And they were in that right platform at that right time.
Yeah.
It was timing was absolutely everything. Not to say that he wasn't talented. It's just a fact that point in time, like everything just clicked.
True.
So I mean, things work out for different people in different ways. It's just your opportunity and your moments. You need to be able to take
those. Yeah, exactly. And that's where like the preparation comes in, where it's like, okay, like knowing that you can take that opportunity if it lands in your lap, right? But I also love those people who are just like, you know what, I'm gonna keep releasing art no matter fucking what, if it's successful or not. And sometimes it's fucking madly successful, other times it's not, but they keep doing it. And I'm like, those types of people kind of keep me going a little bit, because I'm like, okay, that's
yeah,
it gives me a little bit of faith.
I'll give you two more just for the sake of the conversation.
Sure.
I was just looking at it. Who was it? Khalid.
Yeah.
And the kid Leroy.
Interesting.
I think he's gonna be a force to be fucking reckoned with. Like he's coming up pretty strong, huge, bro. And he's got Justin Bieber's backing. Like, let's be real here. That's it's a huge backing, because I mean, regardless of what you think of Justin Bieber, he's made a lot of changes in his life, and now he's on a trajectory to be one of the greats, you know?
Absolutely, dude. He's becoming very prolific too. Like, I don't know if like, I'm not like a massive Bieber fan, but I'm not a believer. I'm not a believer, but I'm a believer in the fact of anyone who puts in fucking work. And like, I've been doing a lot of like live performance videos, like in my studio. I've never, going back to the question about live streaming, I never did a live stream. Fucking hate the idea of a live stream. You're not missing out. Yeah, you're not missing out. I hate the idea of a live stream. I like recording a video and cutting it exactly the way I want it. And sometimes it doesn't even need to be cut that much, but other times to make it interesting, I'll cut it. But like, you know, Bieber's doing a lot of these like live performance style videos, and and I mean a lot, like a lot of them. And I'm like, so you've seen it. And I'm like, holy shit, like he's putting out a lot of really interesting work. And I'm like, you know,
I feel like if you're not aware of what he's doing, because he's changing a lot within the industry, and especially over the past year, if you're not taking notice at least of what he's been doing, you're gonna be behind already, because he's put those aspects into a 2021 perspective, and been able to take full advantage of it. But I mean, like with whatever the budget shit, like we can all do stuff to that extent. We just have to be more creative with it when you don't have a budget.
Well, that's the thing, is like, you know, he did a video on a rooftop in Paris. He's singing one of his songs on a rooftop in Paris.
Yep.
I did a video where I'm singing on top of a rock on a cliff. So I'm like, it's, you know, I think the video is interesting. It's not the rooftop in Paris, but it's like, I'm trying to be fucking creative with it, where I'm like, okay, like, you know, I don't got the rooftop access in Paris, but I got this fucking rock on a cliff. So we're going to go for it.
Honorable mention, Kane Brown.
Is that an artist?
Really?
Is that an artist?
Yes, it is.
I'm not from Kane Brown.
Yeah, you would have heard of him. He's got a song with Marshmello.
Okay.
One Thing Right. I can't play it for you right now because I don't want to get dinged with freaking copyright on my podcast. But One Thing Right. I'll play it after the podcast.
Yeah. I'll have to check it out. Kane Brown. All right. I'm gonna check that out. I'm not familiar with Kane Brown.
He was big and like he came up, I think, with a lot with YouTube and Facebook coming out, and then like he exploded over the last. I can't say exploded, but he's definitely become a lot more mainstream over the past few years. He's definitely done a lot more, especially radio wise. So, he's a black country singer, but like he's gone through a lot of.
I fucks with country lately, dude.
Dude, I was raised on country. I have no problem with country.
Fucks with country, and yeah, no, it's lit. I never really was like, it's not that I would like refuted country, but like lately, what sparked it was I borrowed a truck from work, and the country station was on, and I was helping somebody move, and I don't know, we were just listening to country all day, and I was just like, I'm into this. That's good. Like, let's get some country in my life.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
All right. So with that being said, like that whole Michael Jackson thing that I mentioned, which would tie into this, favorite song of all time, no matter the genre.
Oh, dude.
I have one all the time.
That's fascinating because I don't know if I have one.
It's just something that's connected with me. It's gotten me through some of the hardest times in my life and turned around my views on stuff, whether you
I don't
disagree
know
or not. It's personal thing.
What's the song? What's your song?
Man in the Mirror
by Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
Interesting. That's a good song. That's a great song.
It has gotten me through a lot of tough times, and it's
talking about the man in the mirror.
Exactly. But I mean, it was just something that connected, and no love lost to when Chris Brown fucking tried to do it during that whole BET Awards, or I think it was BET Awards, but it's always connected with me, man. It always has and always will. It's a song that I can always go back to, and it will get me through a tough time, and it'll make me feel better, and just it
I'm gonna let
it's that song, you know.
I'm gonna let iTunes or Apple Music tell me what my top 25 most played songs are, and
go from there.
We're gonna go from there.
Sounds good. I'll take it.
Because the thing is, like, if we're talking about vinyl, like, I don't know, like,
of all time, dude, or at least, like, I say of all time, but I mean, if you can't think of one of all time,
that's hard. That's hard.
Right now, favorite song right now.
Favorite song right now.
I'll let this pass this one time.
Okay. One I've been jamming to a lot is "Living It Up" by Ja Rule. That's just fire. 2001. It came out in 2001. It still slaps. That's not my favorite song I've ever, but
I respectively, I hope not, but
no,
I mean,
no. I don't honestly, I don't know if I have a favorite song ever. I'm gonna think about that.
Okay.
I'm gonna get back to you on it. Man in the Mirror is a good one though.
Yeah. Why is it important for you to make music? Why do you think it's important for you to make music?
I always wondered why, but I heard someone say the other day, it was like a philosopher or psychologist or whatever he was, and he was like, artists and creative people in general are like a fruit tree, and you're just bearing fruit, and it's going to drop at some point. That's just the way it is. Creative people just have, if you don't let it drop, it's gonna, like, you're gonna be miserable. And I don't know, I feel like for me, like, I would be miserable if I wasn't if I didn't have some sort of creative outlet. Like, I don't know, like
no, that makes sense.
I've never gone without it. And
very
it's
philosophical.
Like, it's a very interesting thing, because, like, I don't know what it would be like if I didn't do it, because I've never done it.
Also true. Yeah, well, then
I've never not done it. It's just something I've always done, and so it literally just feels like it's something that comes out. It's like I'm you know, if I have, especially, like, I'm grateful now I have a space, I have a studio where I can just come in, and, like, that's where I allow that to come out, because, like, sometimes, like, you know, things come out in natural and, you know, regular life, but, like, our brains are just so saturated with, like, so much other information. We don't actually have the opportunity to sit down and make music or sit down and make art. But, like, when you have a space where you can dedicate yourself to that and, I don't know, allow that to come out, I think that's I think that's ultimately, if you letting that out is important.
Fair.
Yeah,
it's a good, and that was a good way of saying it, because I mean, a lot of people would just say it, but referencing it at least, and putting it into a perspective, and at least quoting, I mean, even if it maybe like not perfectly quoted, it still puts it into perspective and paints a picture quite well, actually.
I like that analogy a lot. I was just like, he was talking about, it was like a curse of creativity. He was like, like, because it is sort of, it's like, it was a negative perspective on it, but he was like, creative people, like they have this thing. It's like, they're different. They just have to release this thing, right? But ultimately, he was talking about monetizing his art as well and how difficult that can be. He's like, because you have this thing, you keep producing it, but it's like, I'm trying to somehow, and I want this to be my life. I need to monetize it. I want to try to monetize this, but it's very, like, it's one of the most difficult things to monetize, right?
Yeah, you're not kidding.
Yeah.
All right, so we're getting into literally like the last few points. We play a little game called This or That, just a quick rapid fire. I think it's like 8 or 9 things, just to pick one or the other in the heat of the moment. Whatever you decide, you don't have to justify. It's just so it's what first comes to mind that you would pick.
Okay.
This or that. So your favorite pastime or music? So like going like with the friends, with camping, doing all that stuff, or music?
Huh. Good question.
Rapid fire.
Oh yeah, rapid fire. Music.
When it comes to listening, underground or mainstream?
Mainstream.
When it comes to creating, or when it comes to music, creating or performing?
Creating.
When it comes to listening, albums or singles?
Albums.
When it comes to, I said listening, right?
Yeah.
When it comes to creating, albums or singles?
Singles.
I respect that.
I make singles and then it comes together to an album.
Exactly.
But anyways, yeah, go ahead.
New music or classics?
New.
Travel or homebody?
Homebody.
Morning or night?
Night.
Summer or winter?
Summer.
I feel like we live on the East Coast. It's
yeah, that's a no.
But I mean, some people, I don't know, some people are weird, I call them weird, but it's whatever.
Yeah.
This one's a funny one. Fame and fortune or cult-like fan base?
Fuck, that's a hard one. Fame and fortune, though.
And for the fact that we're in the music, 90s since you're a hip hop fan, 90s hip hop or 2000s?
90s.
Fair. All right. And why I said it's an interesting question with the fame and fortune or cult-like fan base. I mean, I touch on this literally every interview just because it sparks more of a conversation. The cult-like fan base can eventually turn into the fortune, right? So with that kind of fan base, it can always, like, the income would just be there anyways. So
sure,
not necessarily the fame, because you don't need that to be successful. But
well, that's the thing. Well, that's what I would honestly, when I was thinking about it, like, I would take fortune but not fame.
Fair.
Like, I'd be willing to be, because like cult-like fan base, I feel like there's a level of, like, you're not really famous. If you have you may have a cult-like fan base, but you're not famous.
Right.
I'd like that. But I and I think you're right in the sense that, like, if you have a cult-like fan base, you could monetize that to a point of,
yeah.
I'm not greedy. I'm just saying.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
But yeah, it's I think yeah, like, you're right. That's an interesting conversation. You're right, because I think it is harder to establish cult-like fan base than fame, or maybe even fortune, because like you can get rich. I don't know. That's also an interesting question, because like I think there's a lot of people who make a lot of money, but do they really have like a solid fan base? You just
True.
like, there's people who just know how to, like, are good business people.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
that's a whole other way of looking at it. I didn't even think about
Yeah. You could just be a good business person, which I'm not.
that.
Like I'm not so good at selling I'm good at the creating part. I'm not good at selling it.
Yeah, I need to get better at the other side.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
getting there, but I mean, it's all a process too. You need to be able
Yeah.
to be, not dedicated. It was disciplined enough to actually learn
Yes.
and put the time in to actually figure out the business side of things, because essentially what you're doing is a business. So
It is. It is. Yeah.
where do you see yourself in 5 years? This is personal. This is music. This is everything. It's just some people that's a long term, some people that's a short term.
I would like to own property, and on that property, I'd like to have a studio that's separate. That's a separate space that is a completely creative space that's separate from my home.
Yep.
You know, whether in a small, that would be ideal. And in a perfect world, I could grow that space to make a living. And not
Yep.
and kind of choose maybe not in 5 years, but ideally in 5 years, I could choose, my hours and choose my clients and choose my schedule and my lifestyle.
So
That would be
looking at it.
that would be the perfect scenario.
It's attainable, dude.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, I think
And the best way that you could, I think that's the best way you could have said that, because you didn't say necessarily even financially stable.
no, I don't think and like
Or
I think
or even make it. Like that's but that's almost more appealing to me. The fact that the way that you worded it, as opposed to somebody who just wants it to make it,
I'm glass half full, but I'm also realist in the sense that, like,
fair. Yeah.
things, like I was talking about, like I look at people's their duration of time that they've been doing it, and like you have to, I think, if you want longevity in any capacity, you have to not skip steps, and part
Yep.
of not skipping steps is paying your dues, and like realizing that, okay, like things do take time,
100%.
and developing good relationships with good clients and good people, and optimizing and monetizing your opportunities. That I don't think that comes up. It shouldn't come overnight.
No. No. By luck, I think, and chance that stuff would happen overnight.
Yeah.
But in a realistic world, it's not. So
no. So I think in 5 years, I think and that having a space where I can try to take that next step.
It's funny because I've always said that too. Like I've always wanted to have, but a space outside of the city. I don't want to live anywhere near the city. I want to be able to come to the city when I have to, like to perform or whatever, and to be able to have a creative space that's aside from my home, because I don't want to have to. I want to be able to go to it, but not have to go too far to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
And be able to come just home and I'm home.
Yeah.
So that's it's part of the goals for me. And I mean, it's not a short-term goal, but I mean, it is in the long run. I would love to help build this community up in the best way, because it's a thriving community and there's a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of talent. It's just the fact that I don't think there's a platform enough around here for it to really be brought up the way it's deserved. So
no, and it's hard to navigate that infrastructure to what needs to be done to properly platform the talent that is here.
100%.
But I think it's definitely growing regardless of whether we like it or not. So
I mean, and that's part of the plan too. I mean, because if you're here to be selfish, then I've best of luck in this thing. But like I'm willing to, especially with this, like this, this is a platform that I feel like if I can help somebody else, not that I want to reap the benefits of it, but if I can help somebody else with a platform, opening them up on a podcast to give them a little bit more light, or give them a little, just that tiny bit of exposure, or at least that glimmer of hope that somebody cares about what I have to say or what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Then that's perfectly fine with me. Like, God forbid,
sharing platforms, sharing audiences, and just like, cross collaborating. That's what, and the thing about music and creative communities is the way, it's all about who and it's all about spreading the word, and it starts underground and it goes, it doesn't start on the surface. It starts
definitely not,
and the cream rises to the top. And
this is true.
You gotta, so it's, things happen for the reason, but it's that cross collaboration and that network that kind of lets things kind of happen. Right. Yeah.
How do you want to be perceived at the end of the day as a person instead of just an artist?
Humble and loving and caring and respectful.
See, the thing is, when I ask this, like, I just want that genuine response. I don't give a fuck about your ego with that kind of question.
Yeah.
It's just like, I want to know who you are at the end of the day, because if that's who you want to be, I have nothing but respect for that.
I'd like to think that that's the experience that people have. Like, if that would be the review that people would give me.
Right.
If I was to die, if I died, people would say he was a humble, caring dude.
Yeah.
He wasn't a fucking douchebag.
It's fair. It's definitely fair.
Yeah.
All right. As we come to the end of the interview, this has been actually a super dope podcast. I'm glad we touched on that whole performing side of things, and Lord knows we will definitely carry that on after the podcast, because we got to plan this show, But with that being said, this is the time for you to plug any socials, any new music, other business ventures, side hustles you may have going on, anything that you want to at least promote or let the people know. Floor is yours. Where can they find you?
So I just dropped a single called Real. There's a video that I shot, wrote, produced, shot, edited, the whole thing myself. It's on YouTube, Nathaniel Cole on YouTube, Nathaniel Cole on Spotify, Apple Music, nathanielcoleart.com. That's where I'm at. Also, Studio 204 if you want to see studio portraits, and if you want to get your portrait done, hit me up.
This is a dude to hit up.
Cheers, man. Yeah, I appreciate you having me on. Appreciate the chat.
Anytime, man. And this will not be the last time for sure. I mean, I like to think that, like, in a year's time, I check to see where everybody's been since then, since the interview that they've had.
That's a cool idea,
because I think it'll put into perspective, because it's been recorded, it's been documented.
That's a cool idea.
Kind of thing to go back on and be like, shit, did I do something over this past year? And it's like, even myself, like, because I talk a lot of shit, but at the same time, I say a lot of stuff that I want to do in each episode. Each episode, I say something different, or
hold yourself accountable.
Exactly. So I mean, it'll be dope to look back on for sure, and to say that I had this interview with you is even doper, even though it's not a word, but that's all right.
I appreciate it, dude.
Yeah, man. The time is always appreciated. And so till next time, guys, thanks for tuning in to Party on a Podcast. This has been Nathaniel Cole, and we'll see you next time.
Cheers.
Drink in my hand, do it every week with my feet in the sand. I can do it someday. Why party at the end?